My dear friends, I'm pretty lucky to talk again to Scott Ritter. You know why? At the end of my last translation, I'm sorry, my last stream, you heard about some troubles with my schedule. So I'm pretty happy that I'm talking to my good friend Scott Ritter again. Scott, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm doing good. Well, but I'm working on doing great. Okay. Scott, I'm gonna be the person who is gonna ask you for millionth time about Israel, Palestine, but in light of how likely a major player or major players could step in, like the United States, Iran, anybody in this conflict, how you see it, and how big that is.
Well, first of all, I don't think there's a need for anybody to step in. Hamas is winning this war and winning this war handily. Now, remember, there's a difference between Hamas and the Palestinian people who are being butchered and slaughtered every day by an Israeli military that doesn't have any other option because they don't have the skill set to close with and destroy the Hamas enemy through firepower and maneuver. Israel got slaughtered when they went into Gaza in 2014, and if they tried it again, the same result would happen. So Israel there's a lot of rhetoric coming out of Israel about defeating Hamas once and for all, etc. But that's for domestic political consumption. The reality is there will be a negotiated settlement when the world gets tired of looking at dead Palestinian babies. And that negotiated settlement will put Hamas in a stronger position because Hamas has done what no Arab army, no Arab force other than Hezbollah has succeeded in doing, defeating the Israeli army. Hamas humiliated the Israeli army, launched an attack that was executed with the precision that any special operations force would have been proud of. And they continue to humiliate the Israeli army. As we speak, even though the Israelis have surrounded Gaza, Hamas fighters continue to come in and out of Gaza, attacking Israeli positions. The Israeli elite counter-terrorist forces have taken horrific casualties, 20 to 30% in some units, including their commanders. So, the fact is Israel isn't going to win this war. Hezbollah has said that if Israel enters into Gaza, that Hezbollah would intervene. But Israel, I don't believe, is going to enter into Gaza because they can't enter into Gaza. The United States has said that if Hezbollah intervenes, it will strike Hezbollah. If the United States strikes Hezbollah, Iran will strike Israel. So yes, in theory, we could have a regional conflict. But again, I point out that that's all predicated on Hamas losing, Israel winning, and people intervening on the side of Hamas. Hamas is not losing right now. They're winning. Hamas wins by surviving, and Hamas will survive this. Again, tragically, the people that are going to pay the highest price are innocent Palestinian civilians. Over 50% of the population of Gaza is under the age of 18, and they're being butchered and slaughtered as we speak. The other that will, suffer are Israeli civilians. Notice I didn't say innocent, because there is no innocent Israeli civilian. They are civilians, and they are a protected class, and they should not be subjected to military action against them. But there's not a single innocent Israeli civilian, because every citizen of Israel has bought into a system built on the backs of the oppression of the Palestinian people. So there are no Israeli innocents. There's Israeli civilians who are protected, but they're not innocent, not like the Gazans. The Gazans are innocent. Those children were born into their open air concentration camp. They didn't opt into this. None of them voted for Benjamin Netanyahu. None of them continue to pay taxes that sustain an Israeli defense force that is more adept at breaking the arms of 10-year-old boys than they are of killing Hamas fighters. So it's a tragic situation, but I do believe that Hamas has the upper hand and that they initiated. Understand this: Hamas picked the time and place of this, the initiation of this conflict. Hamas has been planning this for years. And if you take a look at the precision in which their military operation unfolded, you'll understand that there was a tremendous amount of preparation involved in this. So if you think for a moment that Hamas put all this effort in to launching an attack and then didn't have a clue what was going to happen next, your brain's not working. Hamas has thought this through every step of the way. Hamas knows exactly what it's doing, how it's going to do it, and what it wants to accomplish. They are currently underground in Gaza, emerging when necessary. They have prepared for a lengthy siege of Gaza. They will not run out of food, water, electricity, or gas. The Palestinian civilians above ground, yes, they are going to pay a horrible price. But I think at this point in time, we have to understand that they've been paying a horrible price for 75 years. It's not as though that this tragedy just erupted overnight. And I do believe that while it is absolutely horrific to see Palestinian civilians butchered the way they are, that the majority of the Palestinian people would say, we are willing to suffer more to bring the suffering to an end. So if one of the things that happens because of what Hamas has done is to get the international community finally united in resolving this problem, knowing that the solution is not the Israeli solution of genocide of the Palestinian people, but rather that the solution has to be the birth of a viable, independent Palestinian state, then I think the Palestinian people will say, we will pay whatever price is necessary to pay. That's a perspective you're not going to get in the West, but it's a perspective that comes from, the Palestinian point of view, which is largely ignored today.
I see. And anyway, how likely the United States make a move so when they see that the things are going too far worse for Israel than they were, and do you think there is a possibility, not theoretical but a practical possibility, that the United States would step in?
Look, the United States is deploying 2 aircraft carriers to the region. Those carriers each have a powerful, air component. On board these aircraft carriers are bombs, lots of bombs. The United States has the capacity to intervene and bomb southern Lebanon, to bomb Hezbollah targets. The military capacity and the political will are 2 different things. It's one thing for Joe Biden and Tony Blinken to say, we're here for you, we will intervene if X, Y, and Z happens. It's another thing to execute it, because the United States has not fought an enemy like Hezbollah ever. If we recall, the last time the United States sent aircraft over southern Lebanon, we had several aircraft shot down and Americans taken prisoner by Syria. We will lose aircraft. And then the American people are going to say, wait a minute, what are we doing? This isn't free. This isn't cheap like it is blowing up Afghan wedding parties or hitting up innocent Iraqi, villages. We're fighting somebody who fights back. And if you don't think that Hezbollah has considered where American aircraft come from, then you don't understand Hezbollah. I'm not saying they will be successful in sinking an American aircraft carrier, but I can tell you that the American aircraft carriers will come under attack if they launch a strike against Hezbollah. So, right now we have a lot of politicians saying things. Politicians are very good at blowing hot air out of their mouths, but it's the military people that have to execute the plans that come from this hot air. And I'm fairly certain that the American Navy is saying right now, yeah, we can bomb them, but then what? What's the next strategy? What happens when, by bombing that, Hezbollah unleashes hell and sends 50,000 missiles raining down into Israel, destroying Israeli towns, destroying Israeli government facilities, destroying Israeli military bases. What's the United States going to do then? Send another 2 aircraft carriers? I mean, it's not like American airplanes have never flown over southern Lebanon. Israel has nothing but American airplanes, and they fly over southern Lebanon every day. Why do we have the arrogance to believe that a bomb dropped by an American airplane is going to be more accurate than a bomb dropped by an Israeli airplane? Do we not understand that the Israelis have not been able to defeat Hezbollah? That it's a problem set Israel hasn't been able to solve. And what we who got beat by the Taliban, we who got beat by Iraqi insurgents are now going to come up against the most formidable, militia in the world. The Hezbollah militia is more capable than the majority of armies around the world. Truly professional people who have prepared to fight the battle right where they're fighting. We're coming to their home turf. No, I don't think America will intervene because once we start it, we don't know what the outcome will be. We can't guarantee the outcome. But I can. America will lose. Again, not because our military is bad. We're not bad. But war is an extension of politics by other means. The politics are bad. The reason why we're doing this is bad. Americans aren't willing to die for this problem. They'll get involved because
Scott,
it's too
sorry.
complicated.
Last 3 or 5 seconds, you just got frozen. I think we got influenced. You see. Please say a few phrases.
I don't think America's going to. I don't think America's going to intervene because we can't guarantee the outcome, and the military is tired of getting involved in military problems that don't have a well-defined end game.
I see. And so we can be more or less sure that Iran wouldn't step in for the same reasons. So if America doesn't intervene, and we more or less can be sure that the whole Middle East will burn up in this major war.
Well, we can't be sure of anything. I mean, let's just be clear about it. It's if you fill your desk with gunpowder and you tell me that you're going to start flicking matches at your desk, I will tell you that that's a stupid idea. That if the match hits the gunpowder, things blow up and you will die. Now, having told you that, I can say that the reasonable person holding the matchbook would say, oh, I'll put the matches down. All right? There are a lot of unreasonable people out there, and you never know when some idiot will just say, well, send the match off, and boom. It's a very, very dangerous situation. So we can be sure of nothing. The only thing we can be sure of is there's a lot of really stupid people in the world today who hold the levers of power. And, we should hope that there are people who are near them who can put their hands on their hands and say, no, that's not a smart move. But there are stupid people out there. Benjamin Netanyahu, Joe Biden, Anthony Blinken. The list goes on and on and on. These aren't smart people. These aren't clever people. These are people with hatred in their hearts, and they're capable of saying the most inflammatory things. We have to hope that the military won't allow those words to turn into action.
Let's hope, yeah. Scott, what can you say about this whole thing in any way, slightest way, affecting Russia-Ukraine conflict? Does it, I'll explain why I'm asking that, because people talk a lot about it, and I just talked to a person today who was begging me to ask you if Israeli-Palestine thing, Hamas-Israel thing, in any way affect Russia-Ukraine war, or?
Well, I mean, Don't ask me. Get on the phone and call the commander of the 42nd Guards Motorized Rifle Division. His forces are deployed outside of Robotyno right now in Zaporizhia. Ask him today, hey, when you woke up this morning, Commander, what was the first thing on your mind? The Arab-Israeli conflict or how you're going to kill Ukrainians who continue to attack you? Call the private on the front line who's manning the forward position. Is he worried about Hamas and whether or not Israel is going to be able to starve the Palestinians to death? Or is he worried about making sure that he does his job, that he looks out to his left and right, he has his field, he has cover in case he's attacked, he knows what his orders are on contact with the enemy? Not a single Russian soldier, I believe, is losing any sleep over what's going on thousands of miles away. They are singularly focused on completing the mission that they've been given. They are winning the war. They will continue to win the war. For the Ukrainian soldiers, it's the same thing. The soldiers on the front line are doing the exact same thing. Where this conflict impacts is in the rear in Ukraine, where they're saying, how do we continue to be fed the munitions and equipment we need to continue what we're doing on the front line? And here's where it's problematic, because the world was already exhausted. Even without the Hamas-Israeli conflict, the fate of Ukraine was in doubt in terms of continued support. Now there's competition for them. This is bad news for Ukraine. Really bad news for Ukraine. It's good news for Russia, but Russia doesn't care because Russia's winning. I don't think you're seeing any panic in the Kremlin about the potential impact of this conflict on their war. They don't care. I don't think Gerasimov and Shoigu woke up this morning, had breakfast and say, oh my God, America's helping Israel. What does that mean for the fighting that's going outside of Advika? We just took the slag heap. Should we give it back to the Ukrainians now? Are we that scared? They don't care. Russia is engaged in a conflict that they're winning. They're winning because they have a strategy that's linked to objectives, and none of those objectives are influenced by what's going on in the Middle East today.
And in the point of view of America cannot support two conflicts, Ukrainian and Israeli conflict.
America can't support one conflict. Okay?
Oops.
America's support of Ukraine did not change the ultimate outcome. Russia is winning. So you can't, America went through the motions of supporting, but it wasn't a successful support. And American support of Israel will not succeed either. Hamas will win this conflict. American support doesn't alter anything. It can lengthen a conflict. It can make the cost of the conflict greater. But America today is a fundamentally broken nation. We don't have the ability to project power in a meaningful fashion. We think the two aircraft carriers sent to the Mediterranean is going to somehow scare Hamas, and Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been staring down the Israeli forces who have far more aircraft than what we have on two aircraft carriers. And the Israelis have been preparing specifically to fight Hezbollah. Their intelligence has been gathering the target locations. And suddenly America is going to come in, America with two aircraft carriers, and change everything because American pilots are so good, American intelligence is so efficient, American bombs are more accurate? Let's just be realistic here. There's a lot of motion going on. But if Hezbollah were to call America's bluff, the only thing that would happen is that northern Israel would be destroyed. Thousands of Israelis will die. And America may lose an aircraft carrier. That's the only thing that happens. Plus, a whole bunch of Lebanese civilians will die. Because, like Israel, we don't know what we're bombing. We'll bomb anything that we think might be, but we don't understand Hezbollah. If we did understand Hezbollah, we could beat Hezbollah. But we don't understand them. We don't know what they've done. We don't have a good picture of who they are, what they are, where they are, how they operate. Hezbollah defeated Israel in 2006. Hezbollah defeated Israel in 2000. Hezbollah defeated Israel throughout the 1990s. What makes you think now that suddenly Israel is going to get it right? They just held exercises in Israel Chariots of fire last year, firm hand this year. Massive exercises where they trained to fight this complex war. Let's talk about the premise of a firm hand. Firm hand said that the war will start with Hezbollah. Notice what I'm saying. The war will start with Hezbollah. That the focus of effort will be the Northern Command. So we have created a new structure of Israeli Defense Forces, Project Gideon. From 2015 to 2020, they reshaped the Israeli forces, combined arms, bringing them together, training for what? For Hezbollah. But they don't even know, they're doing it based upon 2006. They're building a military based upon lessons learned from 2006. Hezbollah, meanwhile, has changed everything about what it does. So the Israeli military that's training specifically for Hezbollah can't fight Hezbollah, will be defeated by Hezbollah. And one of the reasons why is that the Israelis don't know how to die. They don't know how to die. And what I mean by that is nobody wants to die. But Russians and Ukrainians know how to die. If you have to take the objective, you will suffer losses. And you are ready to suffer those losses. You have made accommodations to people dying. You know that this unit will be eviscerated. You have another unit ready to step in, continue the mission. If they get eviscerated, another unit steps in. Israel goes in and their unit gets eviscerated and they panic. Oh my God, we lost little Jewish boys. We have to withdraw. Their reservists are scared to death, literally peeing in their pants as we speak because they don't want to die. They don't know how to die. They're not prepared to die. So what the Israelis did is rather than make a military capable of closing with and destroying the enemy through firepower maneuver and to jam a bayonet in the belly of somebody, they've relied on technology, drones, targeting radars, etc. So it's a standoff battle. That's not the way war works. It's up close and ugly. If anything, the Russian-Ukrainian conflict has taught us that. Israel can't do this, but they're preparing for Hezbollah. That's where the majority of the forces were supposed to go. Then they were prepared for Iran to come in, so their air force was prepared to go off and hit Iran. In the Southern Command, which is Gaza, and the Central Command, which is the West Bank, they were prepared for civil unrest, maybe a handful of terrorist incidents or, mass riots. That was it. How did this conflict start? With a huge Hamas attack in Gaza that has now taken all those reserves who were supposed to go up north to fight Hezbollah, have now come down to surround Gaza, and they don't know what to do. They didn't prepare for this. They don't have a plan. And the training they received was to fight in the hills of southern Lebanon, not in an urban environment in Gaza. The Israelis don't know how to die. And if you talk to any Russian veteran of Mariupol or Bakhmut, they will tell you that urban conflict is about one thing and one thing only: death. Death. Death of the Ukrainians, death of the Russians. It's the most horrible kind of fighting there is. And it takes a special approach. It takes a hard soul, a hard man to get into that. The Israelis are not hard men. They don't have hard souls. They're very good at snapping the arms of 10-year-old Palestinian boys in Jenin. They're very good at shooting 15-year-old girls in the head. They're not good at staring eye to eye with a hardened warrior in front of them ready to die for his cause, because the Israelis aren't ready to die for their cause.
Oh my God.